Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the channel. It's your boy, World of Wrestling, here today to discuss about WWE Raw September 9th, 2024 review. Uh, Not to mention, guys, uh, I did watch AEW All Out, and boy, I will tell you, All Out was a fucking brutal show. And I mean a brutal show. Uh Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland took their match to a whole nother level that I don't think any wrestling show has ever seen before. Just telling you guys a little bit of something about that, and it's faced some heavy criticisms, which I believe it deserves. I think it was a way too much. I mean, that chair shot to the head, though, that was like icing on the cake, man. It was fucking brutal. Just wanted to touch a little on that because I'm not going to be providing you guys a review on that this week. I ain't got the time to do so. I just want to let you guys know that I did watch All Out. If you did not buy the pay-per-view, didn't get a chance to actually see it live, by all means, go back, watch it. It is worth a watch. It is a fun pay-per-view. It's not a ton of matches. It's only 8 matches, which is a nice normal number for a pay-per-view, and they did an excellent job for this event. It was very enjoyable for only a 2-week build. They did an excellent job. Matt 87 Eagle says na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. Third hour of Raw for the rest of the year until it moves to Netflix. But I hope it stays 2 hours for our sanity. I mean, I got to admit, Matt 87 Eagle, I think that Raw last night was actually a good show, and they've been doing a good job with these 3 hours. They managed to make these shows flow very well enough to sit through 3 hours. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do have their moments where they have fluff stuff, filler shit to make the show go by, but it gives everybody a chance to be on the show, which is great. Um, but yeah, 2 hours. Oh, thank God. It doesn't feel so long. It's nice, but I will give Triple H's props and his creative team props. They have managed to handle these 3 hours for the last few weeks, maybe a few months, pretty well. I think they've done a good job with it, but it's just too much extra work. It's not necessary. Save that for pay-per-views. I mean, come on. 3 hours is just way too much. For a weekly televised show, I think that's just asking too much creatively. I mean, these week to week shows are about creative. It's not about pro wrestling so much. I mean, you want to have good wrestling in the shows, but at the end of the day, guys, I mean, we're here for the stories when it comes to week television, and the pay-per-views is where the wrestling is at. That's what is the final thing. The episodes leading up to the pay-per-views is the hype up for the pay-per-view. So you got to have story of some sort getting you pumped and ready to want to watch the pay-per-view. That's the whole point of the television shows. Matt A7 Eagle also mentions that I laughed at Chicago crowd chanting "This is murder" to Moxley when he went ahead and he was suffocating Bryan Danielson with a bag. Yeah, I don't understand how that's not considered a fucking attempted murder. I mean, he was basically trying to kill him. Made absolutely no sense. Matt 87 Eagle says Triple H has stated that booking 3 hours is heavy taxing and has been pushing for 2 hours before he took over. Well, I agree. I mentioned this just a few moments ago. I think 3 hours, they, again, like I said, they have been managing 3 hours very well. They've been able to make the shows intriguing and worth sitting through 3 hours. But at the end of the day, guys, I mean, 3 hours for a weekly televised show, just too much to just throw at someone creatively. And I think it's overkill, and it's just taxing on the creative team like Triple H, like Matt 87 Eagle said that Triple H stated. I mean, it's just too much. And it's not necessary. Unless you got a big major episode coming up, like you're making it like a pay-per-view type of quality show. Okay, that's one thing. Like something like that they used to do back in the day during the Ruthless Aggression era, they'd have once in a while a 3-hour show for a big major event, like a major championship match, some grudge matches that are supposed to be pay-per-view quality type of matchups. Okay, I got you. I got you on that. But every week, there's no way you can give me a reason to stick with 3 hours of wrestling every single week for a Monday Night Raw show unless you're doing week to week pay per views, which I don't see that ever happening. Love Girl says, World of Wrestling, guess what on NXT goes to appeared on NXT? The Bloodline solo sets the Tanyans, the Gorillas of Destiny, and the Wolf to NXT to beat up Axelum and Nathan Frazier and the Street Profits. That made some storyline sense. I mean, you're talking about the Street Profits. They have interest in destroying the Bloodline with DIY and winning those tag team titles. So, I mean, it does make sense. I mean, granted, they didn't have to do anything over there with it being NXT, but if they want to get an advantage over them and beat them down and put them out of business, I mean, it does make sense. Matt 87 Eagle says, well, yeah, the Bloodline showed up on NXT to continue the story with the Street Profits. I just said that. Love Girl says the Bloodline showed up on NXT and beat up Nathan Frazier and Exum and the Street Profits. You already mentioned that, Love Girl. Thanks a lot for the restatement, reiterating yourself. But whatever. Let's move on here. Let's get into the review, guys, because I haven't even touched this show at all. Monday Night Raw was a good show, very entertaining. Had some good stuff here and there. I was watching the Monday Night Football game last night. I had a bet on the 49ers to win against the Jets, which they destroyed the Jets, by the way, 32-19. It was a nice beatdown. I enjoyed myself. So I enjoyed winning another bet. I went 3 for 3 this past weekend for NFL football. I could have parlayed that and won some pretty damn good money. But I prefer single bets anyway, as you guys may already know if you follow the channel when it comes down to the bets. Anyway, let's get to it. First match on the card, we had the 8-man mixed tag team matchup in a street fight with the American-made Chad Gable, the Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius Creed, and Ivy Nile against the Wyatt Six with Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, Joey Gacy, Nikki Cross, and Bo Dallas. This was a fucking awesome matchup. This was an amazing matchup. Very fun, entertaining shit. I was watching this immediately after the football game was over around 11. So I was catching all this stuff, and then I had to watch the rest of it this afternoon. I didn't get done with dinner until around 7-ish. So that's the reason why we started the review so late. I thought I was going to be here by 8, but unfortunately I wasn't. So, yeah, this was an awesome match. Great stuff. Overall, all the action in this match. You got to go back and watch. If you did not watch the opener of Monday Night Raw, you need to watch this. This was a fucking excellent match. And Loomis ends up getting the win for the Wyatt Six over the American-made. Wyatt Six pose over a broken Chad Gable, and that's how that match ended. I really want Chad Gable and his group to get away from the Wyatt Six. It is time. They lost the Wyatt Six. It's over. It's done. This is where this match needs to come to a close, or we're just using Chad Gable as a gosh darn jobber here. And I don't want Chad Gable and his group looked at as fucking jobbers, because legitimately they come across as an awesome group as heels. I love this team. I really do. Despite them losing, I have enjoyed what they've been doing with the Wyatt Six, but they need to move past this. It's time. The Wyatts win the rivalry. Let's move on to the next group that the Wyatt Six are going to work with. They've already displayed their power, their ability to overcome the American Made. They are better than American Made in this situation. Let's move them to something else. But they've been doing excellent, the Wyatt Six. Excellent content by them. Storyline wise, vignettes, all of it has been very entertaining stuff and very intriguing shit. My only issue is, when are they going to suffer an L? Because honestly, I think this might have been the perfect place to do that. But then again, maybe not, because this would have just dragged this along. But if you're going to go ahead and have the Wyatt Six win, move them on to something else, find them something else to do, have the American Made, have Chad Gable work up through the ranks to get to the Intercontinental Championship at some point. Have him, if you're not going to do anything with him per se as pay-per-view sense, at least have him on the Raw brand every week, having some sort of match with somebody and just flexing dominance over the mid-card division with him and his group. And eventually Julius Creed and Brutus Creed end up getting tag team gold at some point. And have Ivy Nile maybe move up the ranks and earn some W's as well to maybe challenge for a championship against Rhea Ripley in the future. That's what I'd do. Granted, I wouldn't have Ivy Nile just beat her for the title out of the blue, but at least give her a shot at the title with some belief that she's got a shot at winning. That's how I'd book it. Matt 87 Eagle says commercial free street fight was a fun way to start the Raw show. Agree. Now can we please move on with the Wyatt Six? Yes, I agree with that. What Matt 87 Eagle. He also mentions American Made should be pushed into tag team division, but they can't. They're forced to be jobbers for the Wyatt Six. Well, again, like I said, they can just move them past this, hit a refresh button with them, have them win matches. I mean, there may not be anything legitimate or important, but at least they're picking up W's and then eventually finding that storyline that would fit them best so that they can go ahead and have some importance on the show and then eventually challenge for a championship in their faction. I think the tag team titles with the Creed brothers would be the best start, and then maybe move Chad Gable into the IC championship division and challenge for the title and eventually win that belt sometime next year. That's what I would do. That's when the title is off of Braun Breaker. I think Braun Breaker is going to keep it until WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure it's either going to be Dragunov or Sheamus that's going to beat him for that title at WrestleMania. That would be the best time to do it, personally. But yeah, that was a great opener. Very fun stuff. Joe Tessitore, speaking of that, Joe Tessitore was amazing last night. He sounded way better than last week. More intrigue, more excitement. He had more bass to his voice. He didn't sound so bleh. He sounded more like he was happy to be there. Not saying that last week he didn't, but he just sounded more like he was part of the show, not like some special guest announcer for one night only type of deal, and just being more involved in the commentary and just bringing more excitement to the show in the commentary booth with Wade Barrett. I think they did an excellent job here together. I think Wade Barrett and him are a fantastic team, actually. I think at some point we may be looking at them as the number two with Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. I definitely feel like we got some good some good commentary here between these two. And if you were to put Joe Tessitore and Pat McAfee together, I actually wouldn't be against that idea. I think they would be excellent together. But it is what it is. And I'm going to say that they're going to have Joe Tessitore and Pat and Wade Barrett stay together for the future. But yeah, I see Joe Tessitore having a successful run with the WWE for as long as they can keep him under a contract or what have you, as long as it's not affecting his outside broadcasting career within ESPN, such as like college football or the Top Rank Boxing. I love him in Top Rank Boxing. He is an amazing announcer for boxing. One of the best outside of Mauro Ranallo. I think Mauro Ranallo for boxing and MMA has been excellent. He's just an amazing announcer. Joe Tessitore is right behind him. He's got great commentary skills and just amazing stuff. And he announced that after Bad Blood, we will be having 2 hours all the way through the year until we move to Netflix. So there you go. Next up, we had Finn Balor calling out Damian Priest. Finn Balor heads to the ring. Balor says it didn't have to be like this with Damian Priest. Priest thinks that Balor screwed him, but Priest screwed the Judgment Day. When Balor joined the group, he reached down and tried to help Priest up. The more he helped Priest up, the more Priest tried to hold him down. Priest held Balor down, his friend and brother. Balor says he was the guy who had Priest's back and made sure he stayed champion. Balor says he should have been champion a long time ago, but Priest was lurking behind his back with the Money in the Bank briefcase every chance he could. Every time Balor got close to the title, Priest screwed him. Balor calls Priest out because he has some things he wants to say to his face. Damian Priest comes out to the ring, looks furious, and Priest says ever since Balor broke up the real Judgment Day, he's tried to get his hands on him, but Balor has run away. Priest will let Balor say what he has to say, and then he's dropping his ass. Balor says Priest cannot tell him what to do anymore after being turned into Priest's sidekick. Balor says Priest and Rhea Ripley will fall on the same night, and Balor wants Priest one-on-one at Bad Blood. Priest immediately accepts, and Priest says he's going to do what he came out here to do. But Balor stops him, and Balor asks Priest if he's forgotten the old Judgment Day playbook. And Priest says he wrote the book. Priest quickly punches Balor down before attacking Carlito and JD McDonough. Dominic Mysterio comes off the top rope, but Priest catches him, and Carlito chop blocks Priest down. The Judgment Day has a 4-on-1 attack. And then Rhea Ripley hobbles down on her crutches, and Mysterio greets her. Ripley quickly strikes Women's World Champion down before she can blindside her. Mysterio grabs the crutch from Ripley, but Ripley punches him away and hits him with the crutch. Morgan chop blocks Rhea Ripley's injured knee. In the ring, Balor takes Priest down with a shot to the face from the World Tag Team titles. And Morgan beats on Ripley's knee with the crutch, and Balor punches away at Priest. Priest gets away and lays on top of Ripley to protect her. Morgan beats Priest with the crutch. JD McDonough and Carlito stretch Priest out, and Mysterio beats his exposed ribs with the crutch, and Balor heads to the top rope, but main event Jey Uso runs down with a steel chair. The Judgment Day quickly scurries away. So I do have a feeling we're going to see Jey Uso teaming with Sami Zayn after Judgment Day, trying to compete for those tag team titles. And eventually we're going to see these two actually become tag team champions again. I think we're also going to see I think we're going to see Priest teaming with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn with Roman Reigns at the War Games match for the Bloodline. Um, how that's going to intertwine, I'm not quite sure. We may see, maybe that won't be Priest, maybe it'll be Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns against the Bloodline. That would make a little bit more sense. This could also lead to Randy Orton going ahead, getting jealous, going, hey, man, I've had my ass kicked by the Judgment Day all this time. You choose Roman Reigns over me, the guy who beat your ass, screwed you 10 ways to Sunday, and then you fucking do this to me, and you choose Roman Reigns over me. This could also lead to Kevin Owens turning heel. That might be an interesting idea. Jimmy, Matt 87 Eagle says, what about Jimmy Uso? I mean, Jimmy Uso could make sense, but if you add Cody to this, it does give us the reason for Randy Orton to turn heel at that point. I don't think him going ahead and turning heel right away after this situation with the world title is exactly the best idea. I think this is kind of needs to lead to something a little bit more important, like him being chosen, Roman Reigns being chosen over Randy Orton. I think that actually works a little bit more and puts more reason as to why Randy Orton's turning heel. At this point, I mean, oh, he lost the world title opportunity. Okay. And then he's jealous of Kevin Owens getting a title shot to Cody because Cody offered him a title shot. Bro, at that time, you were getting a title shot anyway. You're going to have two title matches at the same time? Like, come on. That wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. That's why there needs to be another reason as to why Randy Orton's going to turn heel. And I think this would be the best moment to do that is have Cody make his own tag team, which is going to be Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, along with Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns is the guy chosen over Randy Orton. And that leads to Randy Orton being jealous, gives us a world championship match sometime in the future or at the Royal Rumble itself. Now, I would rather see The Rock and Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble and giving us Randy Orton and Cody at WrestleMania, giving Randy Orton a WrestleMania moment, winning against Cody Rhodes and giving him a lot of heat. That I would definitely like to see. But I honestly think that right now, changing Randy to a heel at this point without a legitimate reason outside of, oh, you gave Kevin Owens a shot, but you didn't give me a shot. That to me makes absolutely no fucking sense. I think that's just idiotic and just pure. That's not putting any major heat with Randy Orton turning heel outside of just turning him heel because of the fact that he's just fed up of getting his ass kicked and losing all the time. That's about it. Matt 87 Eagle says, do you see Cody defending his title at Bad Blood or teaming Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu? I actually like the idea of a tag team match. With Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa and Fatu. I think that would be a better idea. And at least we won't get a Roman versus Solo Sikoa match where Roman needs to win because he's already suffered a loss to Cody. He's going to come back for a debut match and lose to Solo Sikoa. I don't like that idea at all. I think Roman and Cody losing together as a team and Cody taking the L here, so Roman doesn't have to actually be the one that takes the pinfall and there's like a screw job finish at the end where Solo actually gets the pinfall on Cody. I mean, that could work, or maybe Jacob Fatu instead. But yeah, I would definitely go with that over a championship match because he's already defending the title on SmackDown this Friday in a steel cage match. So what's the necessary need to do that? Or the other hand is just keep him off of the card completely and just focus around the World Heavyweight Championship match and whatever major, uh, uh, or just focus on Drew McIntyre and CM Punk as the main event for Bad Blood in the Hell in a Cell match. That's really where I would stand. I wouldn't even worry myself too much about championship matches. I think this should be more centered around uh, feuds. And if there so happens to be a championship involved, so be it. But I think not Cody, I think Drew McIntyre and CM Punk needs to be the centerpiece of Bad Blood uh, this coming October 5th pay-per-view. So I think that needs to be the main event. That needs to be the centerpiece of the show. I don't think you need the WWE Championship on the line since it's already being defended this coming Friday. And I think the World Championship would suffice with being on the line. Have Cody off the card. He doesn't need to be on every pay-per-view. It's not actually necessary. But if I was to go to a match with Cody being on the show, I'd team him with Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. This could lead to Randy Orton having some dislike towards Cody Rhodes. I mean, if you want to book a match with Cody and Randy Orton at Survivor Series, I could deal with that. So if you wanted to rough shot it compared to what I'm thinking, then yeah, that would be fine too, because at least it'll make a little bit of sense that he's teaming with Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu than with Randy Orton. This leads to Randy Orton being jealous. Randy Orton's off television for a little while after his match with fucking Gunther. And then he comes back after Bad Blood and he's pissed off that Cody didn't even ask him to team with him against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Instead, he chose Roman Reigns instead. And that could lead to their feud over the championship leading into Survivor Series and having a championship match with Cody and Randy for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series and having the War Games match with Jey Uso, Jimmy, and Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns against the rest of the bloodline. That I would be cool with. And I think that would be a smart idea, actually. So if you want to throw Cody, tag team match would be the best choice. Anyway, let's get through the rest of this because there's some other things I want to do. Backstage, Jackie Redmond's with Braun Strowman. She asks him about his injuries he suffered at the hands of Big Bronson Reed, which, by the way, he was at this episode last night. And Bronson Reed made a huge impact in this show. I think these two need to go at it at Bad Blood, definitely, in a grudge match. Raw's been doing some great booking for these pay-per-views. Strowman says he's hurting, but he had to step up to him. The match he had last week on Raw didn't help his injury. Strowman won't use that as an excuse. Nothing can keep the monster down. He may be wounded, but a wounded monster is even more dangerous. IC champion Braun Breaker walks up to Strowman. Breaker says he came to see if Strowman was a monster, and he is. Breaker is here to prove to the world that you don't need to be enormous to be a monster. Strowman is still standing here because he's never been in the ring with him. Strowman says if that's what he thinks, he doesn't know who he's talking to. Breaker says he hopes he wins and will see him around. We have the WWE Tag Team title match between women's tag team title match. Eva Fire and Ezla Dawn getting a rematch against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Barely paid attention to this, but Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair retain their tag team titles. Whoop-de-fuck-you-do. Joe Tessitore says Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley have left the arena and are en route to a local medical facility. Don't quite understand why they're calling it a medical facility again instead of the hospital, but whatever. Jackie Redmond is backstage with the LWO. She asks how Dragon Lee is preparing for Dirty Dominic Mysterio and the Judgment Day. Lee says the Judgment Day can't do anything alone, but he has backup. Rey Mysterio says Lee will take care of business. The Judgment Day walks up and Baylor warns if they get in the way, they'll take them out like Priest and Ripley. Mysterio says the only thing he saw was a bunch of wannabe thugs that run from a real fight. Dominic Mysterio calls Ray a deadbeat dad, and Ray tells Baylor to stop hiding behind his stupado son and fight him, and Baylor accepts. Next, we had Bret Hart make his appearance. This was a very fun, entertaining segment. Gunther, you know, took shot. He kind of glorified Bret Hart and then shot him down. At the same time, he said, "Yeah, Bret Hart, you were my number 2 favorite wrestler. My actual number 1 was Bill Goldberg." Oh my God. That was a shot that was huge. That was heat beyond belief. And him saying that Goldberg was his favorite wrestler of all time over Bret Hart, with Goldberg being the guy that ended Bret Hart's career, was a brutal shot to Bret Hart. And I'll be honest with you, I would love if Bret Hart was a younger guy, like 20 years younger or something, maybe 30 years younger, and he could get back in a ring. I would love to see a Gunther versus Bret Hart match. I think those two would have a hell of a fucking match, especially with the comment that Gunther used on Bret Hart. I mean, it was astonishing that he said Bill Goldberg. I was like, oh my God, he said Goldberg? Holy shit. You knew he was just trying to insult him. I don't see Gunther having a favorite as Goldberg being his number 1 wrestler in his, you know, assign you know, rankings of his favorite wrestlers being Goldberg. Matt 87 Eagle says, "Oh my God, Gunther had the best line of tonight. Instead of obvious HBK, let's mention Goldberg in front of Bret Hart." Yeah, I got to admit that was that was funny, and that was a real harsh shot because Goldberg ended his career. Shawn Michaels just, you know, he ended his run in WWE along with Vince McMahon and Earl Hebner, but Brett HBK did not like do anything to ruin his career or end it, but fucking Goldberg shot it the fuck down with that kick to the face in 1999 Starrcade. I mean, that shit was brutal. And nobody knew that his career was actually over until we got into January of 2000. So it was pretty fucking crazy that his career, he was walking around with the championship. Nobody was making any major announcement though, or concern, or acting like he had a severe issue with that concussion. They had him on TV every week. He even, I think, had a match, but apparently he went to the doctors to get checked out and they didn't recommend him wrestling anymore just because of a Goldberg kick to the face. Unreal. Totally unreal. Then Sami Zayn came out. He said, "How dare you make fun of Bret Hart," and yada, yada, yada. Typical stuff. Nothing too extraordinary. And he threw the hammer down again. He said, "Why won't you face me for the title?" And he said, "Look, I don't want to face you for the championship. You have not done anything to earn the right for the world title." And he walked away and said, "No, I'm done. I don't accept your challenge." I actually like this in a sense because this is like something you would see in boxing. Boxing, I've noticed since I've been reading documents and news articles about boxing and what's going on in the boxing world. The top guy is always being asked by other challengers, "I want a shot for your title, blah, blah, blah." And the champion has the right to shoot their challenge down, whether it's because of money, whether it's because of the level of their name or what have you. They have the right to do that because they're their own entity, technically, even though they're under a contract, they can shoot down challenges from challengers they don't deem are worth the challenge at that present time, because they don't see the value in the money that they're going to get from the pay-per-view match that they're going to have. So this kind of could be used in the same sense, and I like it. I think it's a really cool way. How they're going to get Gunther to finally accept the championship challenge, I think should be made into an interesting way. How they're going to do it, I don't know. That's where my issue comes from. Outside of Sami Zayn doing something drastic to the point of like injuring Kaiser or some shit and giving him the match. That's about the only way, threatening to kill him or end his fucking life, in a sense. But that's the only way I see that happen. Anyway, he still shoots the challenge down. Pete Dunne, is interviewed or talked to by Breaker. Breaker didn't know what to think of Dunne when he was with Sheamus. Breaker asked what he used to call himself, but Dunne tells him not to call him that name. Breaker says, "Okay, Pete." And Dunne says he's going to win tonight, but beat Trick Williams tomorrow to get close to the NXT title, and then he'll take Breaker out to win the IC title. He'll be a double champion, and Breaker says it will be a mistake for Dunne to think he can beat him, and Dunne will be left dumbfounded. Breaker sneers and wishes him luck before walking away. We get Dominic Mysterio going up against Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee ends up getting the loss. He ends up losing, actually. Dominic Mysterio ends up getting the frog splash for the win after hitting a 619. So that match was all right. It wasn't bad. Next up, we had WWE Honors Johnny and Matthew Godoy. Goduro. They were former hockey players. They're actually younger than I am. They both died 30 and 31 in a car accident. Horrific incident. I can't believe that. That's crazy. They played for Calgary Flames. 6-woman tag team match was next. Pure Fusion Collective against Zelina Vega, Lyra Valkyria, and Natalia. Nothing major there. I just did not care for this at all. But Zelina Vega, Valkyria, and Natalia get the win. Natalia gets a sharpshooter in her hometown. She gets a big pop from her hometown, and there you go. Next up, we had Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre thought his thing with CM Punk was over. He talked to Wade Barrett. He informed him that if he ever gets involved in his business again like that, he's going to have to make a drastic attack on him and put him in his place, even though they are good friends. And then Adam Pearce came out, announced that these two will be finished when they face each other inside Hell in a Cell. Now, there was one little bit of information that was left out that should have been in there, is that the loser has to leave town, has to go to the other brand, will no longer be working on the Raw brand anymore, simply because of the fact that Adam Pearce has had enough of these two. There needs to be a winner, this to be finished, and then we move on, and one of you guys are done and over with the Monday Night Raw brand and have to go to SmackDown. He could make an announcement that, hey, you know what? I've already made a trade. I'm prepared for whoever loses. Nick Aldis is very happy with getting either Drew McIntyre or CM Punk after the match is over, whoever that might be losing, and trade up for like somebody that they won't announce until after the Bad Blood pay-per-view is over on the next Raw show. And we introduce that SmackDown star onto the Raw brand officially within a trade. That's what I would have done, but they never even announced any of that information. Maybe they will later on, but currently, right now, it's just, oh, it's going to be over after Hell in a Cell. How is this going to make any sense with these two being on the same brand where they can still interfere in each other's world championship matches? To me, it makes absolutely no sense. And obviously, Drew McIntyre is going to have a major issue um, with um, with CM Punk getting a world title shot later on in the future, which he's going to most definitely, I think. Um, and him not interfering wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I think it's probably best for him to be moving on to the SmackDown brand. Not to mention, it gives him a whole new field of opportunity of opponents to face on that brand and build some more stories with other people than just CM Punk and the people he's built storylines with throughout the last 2 years, I believe, since 2023. Matt 87 Eagle says Drew made a good point. He beat Punk clean at SummerSlam. Punk doesn't get to advance to a title shot just because he touched the ring posts. Well, this match is definitely going to determine that because whoever wins this match is going to have to pin one or the other or submit the other person. So there you go. So it's going to earn CM Punk the right to challenge for a world title at that point. But still, why would Drew McIntyre stop after losing a match at Hell in a Cell? What? Because Adam Pearce said it'll be over after that? No, I wouldn't. I'd fucking make his life a living hell trying to get to a world title. That's why I think that one of them has to go, and whoever wins gets a world title opportunity, and the other moves on to the other brand. That's what I would do. To me, this makes absolutely no sense to just have the match and then say it's over, because I wouldn't say it's ever over. Matt 87 Eagle says probably at Survivor Series, Punk versus Gunther should be a great match. Yeah, but Punk ain't going to win that match. Punk is not going to win that match. Straight up. So, to me, this makes absolutely no sense. I mean, the match makes sense to occur, but to not have the stipulation, the loser leaves town match, that to me doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, I was a little disappointed with the missing portion of that being in the segment, but it kind of hit. It hit, but it didn't hit for me the way this all turned out to be. Karrion Kross backstage with The Miz. Seems like Karrion Kross has some ideas for The Miz's career. Miz was wearing all black like Karrion Kross. Miz taking on a dark side would be kind of interesting. I'd like that. Xavier Woods walks up and asks Kross what he's doing. Kross wishes Woods luck with Kofi Kingston's situation. Miz says he's in a rut. There is no doubt. Woods says Miz fought John Cena at WrestleMania. Miz tells him to look where he is now. Miz walks off and Kofi Kingston comes up and says they have a world title, tag team title shot. Woods says they were supposed to go for the singles title, but they'll march into the 10th anniversary as tag team champions. They're fired up. Okay. Then we had Rey Mysterio, Finn Balor. Decent matchup. Disqualification, though. Rey Mysterio wins. After the match is over, Balor just kicked the shit out of him and left it at that. There you go. Dragunov got interviewed. Braun Breaker did the same thing he's done with everybody else. Walked up to him, said, I wish you a lot of luck. Look forward to facing you. I'm going to kick your ass. Jey Uso comes out of nowhere. He breaks up the little segment and heads to the ring, and that's pretty much it. So at that point, we had the number one contenders fatal four-way match. Good main event. Jey Uso obviously won. He's the biggest name out of the four to challenge for this title. This is just going to give Braun Breaker a nice W over a big name like Jey Uso. And Jey Uso is going to walk away a loser in this situation, unfortunately, but in a good matchup, I think. I think this is going to be a fun, IC Championship title defense for the first time for Braun Breaker on a pay-per-view, excluding the match he had with Sami Zayn on Monday Night Raw at 2 out of 3 Falls match. Don't think I forgot about that. But this is the first time that Braun Breaker is actually defending the title on pay-per-view, and this should be a really good doozy. And I think we're going to have a very entertaining and fun little matchup between these two. Bronson Reed, though, got in the middle of this match with Braun Strowman and put him right through a table, jumping off the ledge of the area where the timekeeper is, and just collides right into Braun Breaker through the table. Very nice spot. And Dragunov did well. Definitely going to see him challenging for the IC Championship very soon at some point. Sheamus, I think, is going to be the guy to dethrone Braun Breaker for the championship at WrestleMania. And I think Sheamus is going to get his first his first win over the IC title. I do believe that trying to think here. Dragunov is going to get a shot. I think all 4 of these guys are going to get championship opportunities. I think Sheamus versus Pete Dunne at the Bad Blood pay-per-view is a great matchup to put on the card. Braun Breaker and Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed in a one-on-one match for Bad Blood would be another great mid-card match, grudge match, whatever you want to call it. I think these two would pull off a excellent, entertaining big man matchup, colossal head-on collision between these two on a pay-per-view card. I think they would be excellent for this pay-per-view. Raw's got a ton of great matches that they could just book for themselves, and SmackDown could be off the show completely if you really want to get technical. SmackDown's not building towards anything for Bad Blood, honestly. Raw seems to be the more focused show for a pay-per-view than SmackDown. SmackDown's just there at this point. I don't know what the hell their deal is. Matt A7 Eagle says now that if Punk beats Drew to the point where he's off TV until after Survivor Series, McIntyre screws Punk out of the Rumble, and then the two can have a Leave Raw match at Mania or something like that. I don't want to see McIntyre and Punk at WrestleMania. That's stupid. No. It should be a Bad Blood and it should be over. I don't want to see this drag out into WrestleMania. That's fucking dumb. I don't like it. But anyway, guys, good show. Very enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, by all means, hit the like button if you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching. And have a great night, guys. Bye.